Alright, so today's video, thought we'd take some time and do a little work on the Volvo. Just this past week, I was riding along and clunk, started to develop some suspension noise, and so took a look underneath, found a broken spring. I guess did a quick Google search. This is a pretty common problem, especially where you get some rust on the springs there. Apparently it fatigues it enough that they do have a tendency to crack. There's lots of people reporting this problem, so I'm going to take some time today to pull it apart and find out exactly what parts we need to do the job. You got to pull out the full strut to do it, so if your strut is bad, now's the time to replace it, right? So we at the very least have to order a pair of springs, probably some of our bump stop parts that came disconnected when I dropped the car there, so you can see the strut rod up there. So I'm at least going to have to do that if the strut's okay. As far as I know, it's original, so I might replace it anyway, because the car's got almost 160,000 miles on it now, so they got to be pretty close to end of life, and replace everything at once. And that's all for now. Okay, so I've been working on it for about 10 minutes now. Just a real quick update. Alright, the first thing we do is remove your ABS wheel sensor wire from this bracket here, and then from this bracket back here, and then there's a little clip to the brake line. Remove that just so you have as much free play in it as possible. Then we remove, let me get a little bit more light here. Then we remove the sway bar link where it mounts to the strut itself, which is right here. So this guy here, that one has a flat on the knuckle side of it there that you can grab with a wrench so you don't spin it and destroy it in the process. And then you just remove the nut from that. And then you have the two bolts that go through here, that go through the steering knuckle here and here. Those two guys, and you just use the impact driver to remove those, but you could certainly do it by hand if you don't have one. Alright, and then up top right now, I'm working on removing this, and I have repositioned this. I moved the ABS wire underneath the strut, and I've kind of positioned it away from the steering knuckle here. As I release that one, it's going to come out back behind the brake rotor there, and then I can remove the whole thing and work on it on the bench. While I'm down here, I'm going to, since I have this all apart anyway, I'm going to take a look at this drive shaft here, because I've replaced the one on the other side 15,000 miles ago. Typically they're not too far apart. I'm also going to check these bushings in the front A-arms here. The ones in the back there look pretty good. This one here is a little bit more questionable. So I'll look at those, maybe do the... Okay, so I've got the strut assembly out. It was just this one nut on the top, and the rod on the strut has like a 8mm socket. Focus. There you go. Let me see, is it 8mm? 7mm. 7mm socket. Okay, so just back that nut out. Then you got to put spring compressors on here. Focus. Okay, there we go. I'm a little slow today. So I put my spring compressors on, take all the tension off the top plate, loosen up this funny looking nut up here. Take that off. Top mount comes off. rust and stuff in there. Otherwise looks okay. Oh, no, look at, see the cracks that are forming down there, so this piece will need to be replaced. The bearing portion of it looked okay. Here's the broken spring. The the other piece actually fell out of there while I was taking the strut out. It actually fell right out. Now we can take this apart, hopefully inspect the shock. If it collapses of its own weight like it's doing there, probably time to replace it. So you can see it slowly dropping down. It should be stiff enough. If anything, it should be probably slightly pressurized to the positive side. So the fact that I can compress it just by the weight of my hand on there, I'm not pushing down on it at all, indicates that it's perished. So we're going to replace those too. So as a quick final note, I'm going to end up replacing the entire strut assembly. Obviously this is collapsed on its own, and so there's an internal seal that's bad somewhere. One final note, if you want to match the factory suspension that you had, you got to find this plate on your car and this number here. There's a lot of decoders online that you put this number into, and you can decipher what spring rate, which shocks and whatnot that you had on your car.